Okay, good evening. Welcome to tonight's shir. There should be two handouts. The first one says Eishes Chayil on Friday night. That is the first topic, the halachic topic. The reason why we're speaking about it is because 2 weeks ago, you may remember, we gave a shir on skipping Shalom Aleichem for hungry guests. So I got an email from someone who listened online, and he was just curious to know what is the background for Eishes Chayil. It's something which we're all very familiar with. It's apple pie and grandmas. Who doesn't like apple pie and grandmas? Eishes Chayil on Friday nights. It seems to be uncontroversial. There's no what could be the issue. So what is the background for it? Well, there is the earliest background I really found is the writing of the Shlah. The Shlah lived in the sort of the beginning of the 17th century, the late 16th century. We mentioned 2 weeks ago there is a background, the Gemara in Shabbos, but that just talks about malachim accompanying a person home from shul on Friday night, and that's what we discussed 2 weeks ago. And that's a person, when he comes home on Friday night, he is accompanied by a malach tov, a malach ra, and if the malach tov sees that the house is ready, the candles are lit, he benches the person that it should be like that again next week, etc., etc. So that could be a source for Shalom Aleichem, but it's not a source for Eishes Chayil. Where does Eishes Chayil come from? So the reasons, well, first of all, the source seems to be the Shlah. If you take a look at paragraph 4, at the bottom there, the Shlah is written by Rabbi Halevi Horovitz, a very famous source. He lived in 1565 to 1630, and he writes in his Siddur, when he talks about Friday night, the order of the events for Friday night, he says, if you say Eishes Chayil from beginning to end, Eishes Chayil, of course, is authored by Shlomo HaMelech. It features in the last Perek of Mishlei. It's in fact the last 22 psukim of Proverbs of Mishlei. And the Shlah is the first source for us saying it. Others point to the mystics, the Kabbalists, the Mekubalim of Sfas, the Talmidim of the Arizal, again the 16th century, where many of our Friday night customs originate. Kabbalah Shabbos nowadays is very different to probably how it used to be. Nowadays we're accustomed to sing the various kapitel of Tehillim and to sing Lechadoidi, but that's fairly recent. It's 16th century, a few hundred years ago. Now, what are the reasons for singing Eishes Chayil? Of course, the classic reason is it's a wonderful opportunity to honor the Jewish mother, the Jewish wife, the mainstay of the home, and heartfelt praise and expressions of gratitude should be done on a regular basis. My kids said, "Daddy, do you celebrate Valentine's Day?" Right? So I say every day. Every day is Valentine's Day. That's the theory. Please God, the practice as well. But Eishes Chayil is a good opportunity to express honor to the mainstay of the home. Of course, Shlomo HaMelech composed Eishes Chayil, and some Mefarshim say that he did so in honor of his mother. His mother was Bathsheba, the wife of David HaMelech, and the Mesulas David says that. He says in Mishlei Perek Lamed Aleph, Eishes Chayil, Kasima L'Saper Musari Imay, when he talks about the Musa, the ethics taught to him by his mother Bathsheba, Chaza L'Shabeach Eishes Chayil L'Koved Imay. He says that he composed Eishes Chayil as an honor to his mother, L'man Heyos Lo L'Zikar, and it should be a sort of a memorial for her, these beautiful words of Eishes Chayil. And in fact, Reb Chaim Vital, one of the foremost Talmids of the Arizal, says that on Friday night he used to kiss his mother on both hands every week, as again an expression of gratitude to her. It's interesting that I listened, I sort of researched it, and I stumbled across a shir of Aryeh Leibowitz, and he said that he heard once in the name of Rabbi Elia Lapien, the great Rabbi Elia. We're familiar here in London with Dayan Lapien and many other of the grandchildren of Elia Lapien. But Rabbi Elia he learned in Kelm, in the famous Musa house of Kelm, and he was very taken. He often spoke about the wife of the Alta of Kelm. The Alta I just finished reading the biography of Rabbi Yerucham of Lvovitz. Rabbi Yerucham of Lvovitz was the famous mashgiach in the Mir, and he also was a Talmid of Kelm. And he talks about the Alta of Kelm. In fact, he named the son Reb Simcha Zissel. Rabbi Yerucham had a son called Reb Simcha Zissel, named after the Alta of Kelm. And Rabbi Elia would speak in hyperbole about the wife of the Alta of Kelm, how she was, just sort of not only ran her own home, but the yeshiva. She ran the yeshiva in a very efficient and very modest way. And he was very taken by her. She was very put together. And one time he ate on Friday night at the home of the Alter of Kelm and his Rebbetzin. And he noticed that the Alter of Kelm would very lavishly praise his wife at every junction. At every point, at every opportunity, he would give genuine, sincere praise to his wife. And Rabbi Elia would note afterwards that there are no bounds when a person is praised what they can achieve. And he puts it down to that. So this is an opportunity on Friday night to give thanks, genuine expressions of gratitude to the Jewish wife and the Jewish mother. Now, there is always someone at the table, sometimes a sort of an earnest yeshiva bacher, who will say, if the topic of why we say Eishes Chayil comes up, he will say actually has nothing to do with the wife, nothing to do with the mother. This is a moshel. It's a moshel for Torah, it's a moshel for this and for that, and you see a deflated wife and mother somewhere at the table. He's right and he's wrong, right? It's layered like everything in Torah. It's many layers, and the main reason is to give thanks to the wife. But there are other reasons. The Shloh himself says that it's connected the Shechina. So if you take a look at the box number 5.2, it's, if you're listening online, email me at j.golker@gmail.com, I'll send you the handout. But on the second page in paragraph 5, subsection 2, it says, you say Eishes Chayil from beginning to end, those 22 psukim of Mishlei, Keneged HaShechina. And they are said to honor the Shechina, the divine presence of Hashem. Merumaz al derech HaKabbalah, and it's rooted in Kabbalah. Al Shechina, and it's referring to the Shechina, the divine presence. It's a time of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbos is the time of relationship. K'yodua liyodei chen, and it's well known to yodei chen. Yodei chen means people who are versed in Kabbalah. V'yesh bo chafbeis psukim, keneged chafbeis sinera shel ma'ala. It has 22 psukim which correspond to the 22 sort of tubes or channels which are up above, that they sort of bountifully discharge bracha, shefa, bounty and blessing when they're said. So therefore it's said in honor of the Shechina, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sort of more present, as it were, on Shabbos, and therefore the Chaf base, the 22 psukim, correspond to the 22 channels of bounty that can fall on a home on Friday night. So that's a second metaphor, as it were, Keneged the Shechina. Now, others point to the fact that Eishes Chayil corresponds to Torah. The Yalkut Shimoni, one of the Medrash, says Eishes Chayil zu Torah. When we refer to the woman of valor, that's actually referring to Torah. And he goes through the whole thing. What does that mean? More precious than jewels. It's referring to Torah, which is lifnai v'lifnim. It's sort of where it was beyond, and Moshe Rabbeinu went to Shemayim, and he brought down Torah to us. Nothing is missing from Torah. Torah is Tamima, and he goes through the whole of Eishes Chayil, saying that it corresponds to Torah. Rashi, in his commentary to Mishlei, also says that it refers to Torah. Eishes Chayil hi ha-Torah. And again, he sort of explains every word, every pasuk to correspond to Torah. Ashrei hazoche limso usah. So Eishes Chayil miyimsa, who happy is the person who can merit to find Torah. Mipninim, it's more precious than Margolius. V'shala leyechsa, it will not diminish. Oichel peris b'eil mazeh v'eil haba. That a person who learns Torah it will satiate him in this world. It will give meaning and satisfaction in this world, and it will nourish him ultimately in the world to come. And the Gan on Mishlei, the Gra has a pirush on Mishlei. He says very interestingly, Eishes Chayil, Chayil is gematria 48. Ches is 8, Yud is 10, and Lamed is 30. And Eishes Chayil, says the Gan, he niknes al yedei memches dvarim hamufroshim meseches avos. There are 48 kinyonei Torah. So Eishes Chayil is a reference to Torah and the 48 ways to acquire Torah. Why therefore do we say it on Shabbos? I can understand the first reason, that it corresponds, it's an honor to the wife, the Jewish wife and the Jewish mother. Then I understand, Friday night is an opportunity to give thanks to her at the end for her tireless efforts of the week. I can understand Keneged the Shechina because it's a time of relationship, of closeness with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Shabbos is. But why Dafka Torah? Why do we say it on Friday night if it corresponds to Torah? So perhaps the answer is that the Tur and many of the Mefarshim say that Shabbos is really a time which is auspicious for limud HaTorah. If you take a look at the penultimate box, it says V'yichaven laharbas b'peiros u'megodim kol hayom, that on Shabbos you should enjoy your oneg Shabbos, you should enjoy fruit and nash and other things, k'dei lahashlim minyan kuf brachas, so that a person can say 100 brachas a day. And Shabbos is a bit more tricky because you haven't got the regular Shemona Esrei, which can help you fill that quota. And therefore, it's a good excuse, as it were, to nash and to eat and to make up your brachas, etc. If a person is used to having a shluf in the afternoon, al yevatlo, don't stop on Shabbos. Ki oineg hu lai sheina b'Shabbos tanug. Shabbos shluf is part of oineg Shabbos. V'acha hasheina, but after it's a day of rest, not a day of sleep, as I often tell teenage students. Kovin medrash, one should try and be kovei time to learn. Because the Issa b'medrash is brought in the medrash, Omra Torah, if not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the Torah itself came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, Rebbeinu Shleilam, Kasher Yikonsu Yisrael le'eretz, when they go into Eretz Yisrael, Zerotz l'karma v'zerotz l'sodeu. Each one's going to get busy. Till now, we've been in the midbar, we've had 40 years of mon, of just being, totally provided for. When we go to Eretz Yisrael, they're going to be so preoccupied with work, with running to the field, to the vine. What's going to be with Torah? Says the Medrash, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu said back to Torah, Yesh lo li zug she'ani mezaveg lecha. I've got a partner for you. Who is that? V'Shabbos Shemai. Its name is Shabbos. Shein b'teilim u'melachtam. On that day, Klal Yisrael are free from their work. And they can engage with you, they can study you. So Shabbos is a day which is auspicious for limud HaTorah, and therefore I suppose Friday night is a good time to recognize our relationship with Torah. The Bach says the same thing. Hakol meidim ba'atzeres for Shabbos. Everyone agrees that there's a concept of chatzi lochem v'chatzi lashem. V'tamayu dehechet deboin nami lochem mistom mechalkeu chetzi lashem, etc., etc. Aval b'Yerushalmi, he quotes the Yerushalmi, which others quote as well. Mashmat Rabbi Barachi the Omer Ninu Shabbos zel lasik b'hem b'divrei Torah. Chatzi lochem v'chatzi lashem is a concept of Yontov, but when it comes to Shabbos, that's really a time to try and focus more on Torah. To roiv yom HaShabbos yesh like Torah v'lo bo'in lochem ele b'mixas. Yes, we need lochem. We need we need to have nice meals and onik Shabbos, etc. But b'mixas doesn't have to be over too much. Chatzi lochem, chatzi lashem. Dividing your time is a concept of Yontov, not of Shabbos. And therefore, you see again this concept of it's a time which is auspicious for that. Now, there are plenty of other explanations. Others say that Eishes Chayil is a metaphor for all different types of concepts. Some say they're midrashim which say that it refers to Sorah Imenu. It's a time to praise Sorah Imenu. Many point to that. Others talk about the relationship between the guf and the neshama, the body and the soul. And others say that it's a reference to Shabbos itself. That they say that Es Shabsoisai Tishmeiru, the pasuk of keeping Shabbos, Es Shabsoisai Tishmeiru is Rosh Tevas Eishes, Aleph Shin Tov. So some say it refers to Shabbos itself, which is of course self-evident why we say it therefore on Shabbos. So many reasons why we say Eishes Chayil, but like I say, it's a good opportunity either to give thanks and honor to the Jewish mother and wife, possibly connected Hashchina. That's the way the Shloh, who is the earliest source for this, that's what he seems to say. Others say the Yalkut Shimoni, Rashi, Dagan say it's a reference to Torah, which is an auspicious day to say it therefore on Shabbos. But others say, like I say, it refers to other concepts such as Sorah Imenu, the relationship between the Guf and the Neshama, and Shabbos itself. So plenty of food for thought, and like I said, it's a relatively recent introduction to Jewish life, but something which we are very familiar with, and it's a very beautiful minhag nonetheless.